Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some Path of Exile 1 discussion. Actually, maybe skip the drink. This is going to be a fast video, but I wanted to plug one of my favorite Path of Exile 1 player run events. In fact, it's probably actually my favorite one. BPL is returning. What is BPL? It's called Badger Private League. That's just a historic thing because it was set up by streamer This Is Badger. This Is Badger is no longer really involved in BPL because he now works in sound design at Grinding Gear Games. However, the community that gathered around this event has continued it for quite some time since then. What BPL is a massive team versus team versus team, part scavenger hunt, part race. The idea is that players are split into 3 teams, but they're split randomly, so you won't necessarily be alongside people that you might know. And then each team has a monumental series of tasks to try to carry out. This includes finding almost every unique item in the game. And most of the time, teams tend to get pretty close to this goal. There'll be a few things that no one will find, but most of the goals will end up being completed by someone. What makes this so interesting though, is that teams work together in really interesting ways. When a team is well run, typically the first day they funnel all of the rare resources to a small number of players, and then the second day they return that with interest because those players got such a head start from that, they can generate an enormous amount of wealth that they can then share with the rest of the team. And then the rest of the team can use those resources to then hunt down all of these scavenger hunt goals. That's what a well-run team looks like, and most of the time they actually do end up living up to that. I've only really had one team that I've ever been on in BPL that wasn't like that. So if this sounds intriguing, let's talk about who BPL is not for. BPL, unfortunately, is a 72-hour real-world time event, and it's one that requires a fresh start in a new economy. And so that means that for a lot of people who just simply have busy real lives, there's not going to be enough time in that 72-hour period to progress interestingly into the game. I would say that I would only recommend BPL if you've got at least 25 hours of gaming time within the 3 days that the event runs. And it's going to be run over the entirety of next weekend. The exact starting time will be the same as league start. So for me, it'll be starting at 6 AM on a Saturday, but for many of you in the United States, it'll be on the Friday, and then it'll be continuing for 72 hours after that. So if you're not the sort of person that can realistically get to endgame proper during that period of time, then I would suggest BPL isn't really for you. The other group it's not for is people who like to just play entirely by themselves, isolated from the rest of the world. It is very much a cooperative spirit. It's a sort of event where people will tend to level as a group and chat in Discord the whole time. The other group, unfortunately, it's not for is console players. Grinding Gear Games have still not made private leagues available to consoles, and this is going to be using private leagues. So unfortunately, that's not an option. Who is this for though? The people who I think will get the most out of BPL, will have the most fun playing it, are people who like playing games in a social manner, but don't really know many people that play Path of Exile 1. In that situation, it's a great networking, if you like, opportunity, chance to meet a whole bunch of other people that play the game. On top of that, it's also a really good opportunity to learn a lot about small aspects of the game. So you're not going to become an expert in Abyss, Beyond, Breach, Blight, and Ultimatum and Heist, all in one event. However, you might become an expert in Blight out of playing BPL once, or you might become an expert in Abyss and Beyond, or a whole bunch of other different combinations of things, that then you'll be in a situation where you will know more than 99% of the player base about that particular area of the game. One thing, for instance, that I found really useful, I was talking to a player a couple of leagues ago that jumped into BPL and decided, right, I need to learn rod crafting. And this player got carried through to maps by the rest of the team really quickly for them. They got through the 4th labyrinth, they got their atlas set up, and then they started mass producing items with rod. Well, guess what this player does at the start of any trade league now? That's right, they do exactly the same thing, they get rod going, and they start making a very large amount of currency very quickly by producing items, but where in BPL they were then distributing them to the rest of the team in order to power up their teammates, in Trade League, they're then turning around and selling them to other players. So that's the sort of person I would recommend BPL for. You want to specialize in a particular area of content, you don't feel you know much about it, and you'd like the opportunity to discuss a lot with other players. I'll put a link down in the description below to BPL's website, and you can go there and sign up from there if you're interested. Or alternately, you can have a look at the scoring system that they use. It's quite complicated, and it's something that really only team leaders need to know the minutiae of, but it's interesting to have a look and see some of the goals that are worth points there so that you can get a sense as to the scope of what the team effort's going to look like. Anyways, I said this one to be a short one. May Varlorbs have interesting results. If you do decide to play BPL, I'm going to be one of the team leaders of the Haunting team, and I'll see you on the beaches in 5.5 days or so.